We are no strangers to the destructive impacts of earthquakes. Japan, in 2011, was devastated with over $300 billion damages caused, with some parts still not revived after 10 years. On top of this, the environmental damages due to demolition and rebuild was significant. As structural engineering academics, our team explored the underlying reasons for such hefty damages despite the recent advances in the seismic engineering and found out that the buildings were not resilient enough. In other words, traditional earthquake protecting technologies were acting as one-off fuses to protect a building once, but not for the aftershocks. The need for resilient solutions, in line with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, was desperately required. A credible team from the University of Auckland in New Zealand, a country that was also devastated by earthquakes in 2011 with over $30 billion of damages, equivalent to 20% of our GDP, decided to innovate for a resilient solution which will protect lives as well as assets from an earthquake and be ready to protect for aftershocks also. The resulting invention gave birth to Tectonus in 2016 with various recognitions internationally, and we now have two products commercialized. One for the commercial structures and the other for storage tanks. The first technology is for the commercial structures like airports, hospitals, hotels, and offices. When an earthquake happens, the device moves in and out, and the sliding movement causes friction that absorbs the earthquake energy. In addition, the groove design and springs forces the device to come back to its original position. Ultimately, in a building, they act to bring the building to its original position during earthquake and aftershocks. Because the technology is self-centering, the structural integrity is sustained after an earthquake and the building is ready for aftershocks too. The technology is of course patented, including in Japan. On top of this, because our technology recenters, the performance is highly predictable. And you can use this to easily analyze how much force was applied to the building, and we are the only ones who can do this, providing both the protection and a continuous real-time monitoring of building health through IoT instrumentation. We are grateful to have completed an airport project for our very first application, which was a beautiful timber building in New Zealand. Not only does the technology perform great, it is aesthetically elegant also. The second technology, also patented, is mostly for the liquid storage tanks. For example, petrochemical, water, and wine tanks. The technology works similarly to the first technology, where we absorb earthquake energy through friction and recenter using springs. But because this is encapsulated in a stainless steel, it's more useful in an external environment, hence liquid storage tanks. It's also great for mass manufacturing, as storage tanks have similar sizes. And since launching in 2020, we were fortunate to have one of New Zealand's largest winery company, Yearlands, as our very first client. We've won 17 projects across New Zealand and Canada since 2016 and are going strong, having made millions of dollars of revenue already. We're looking to expand into the US, Japan, and other parts of Asia, and we already have projects confirmed for the coming years, including the world's largest timber-only building in a seismic region to be constructed in Vancouver, and we're also discussing our very first project in Japan. And our innovation doesn't stop here. We're currently working on a residential product to bring a superior self-centering protection for our everyday 1 to 2 story houses too. Tectonus is a high-impact startup aspiring to protect the world against earthquakes. Our activities are mostly aligned with the UN's SDG 11 to make cities safe, resilient, and sustainable. We tend to measure this impact through two different factors. Number one, the number of structures we're protecting from the adverse effects of earthquakes. Not only does this relate to the people and the economies we save, it also relates to how much carbon emission we're able to mitigate. Should an earthquake happen, the building won't need to go through a high carbon generating activities such as demolition and rebuild. And number two, how many green buildings we're enabling to be built. Our technologies are particularly useful for the timber buildings, which is not the sweet spot for many conventional technologies due to the inherent lightweight composition of timber materials. Our technology will soon enable the world's tallest timber-only building in a seismic region, and more iconic timber projects will follow. We have strong background in timber engineering, with both Pierre and Puyan, our co-founders, having academic roles in timber engineering at reputable universities. And we're proud to be the advocates for the promotion of more green buildings. Tectonus is a purpose-driven company with high global impact potential, saving people and our assets against the adverse effects of earthquakes. We're tackling a significant problem that the humankind is currently exposed to, and are proud to be a global leader in the space of resiliency and structures. As we pave our way towards a meaningful journey serving the humankind, we ask that you join us in voicing the importance of enhanced preparation and resiliency against earthquakes. With Tectonus, you're safe even when things look shaky and vulnerable.